Good day, our beloved panel, clinical instructors, and our fellow student nurses. I am Felmea Dulman, and together with me is Christian De Fiesta, Angeli Buenacosa, Darisol Castro, and Athena De La Cruz. The COVID-19 pandemic brought huge changes for many of us, one of which is that we had to quickly improve our educational system that would align to the current situation. With those changes, unavoidable emotional burden comes. Living under high levels of stress negatively impacts our entire well being. Different ways of coping are being used to help us think logically and function efficiently as we adapt to the new normal. Today, we, the University of St. Tasal, DSM-3T Group 1B, will discuss comprehensively our nursing research entitled Coping Strategies of Nursing Students with Online Learning.
First of all, the reason we conducted this study is because with the transition from traditional to online classes, we wanted to promote a nursing students coping strategy with virtual learning. Ramich and Sultana stated that the reshaping of alternative classes for education is a notable issue for coping. Since this is a new setting in the educational system, students may face unexpected challenges while having online classes. Ways of coping must be identified and given importance to address the different stresses they face in a virtual learning environment. According to McCarthy et al., the recognition of their coping mechanisms is critical for nursing students in order to effectively handle undergraduate stress experiences. A study by Labrig et al. Stated that strengthening the positive coping skills can help nursing students to efficiently deal with various stressors when studying, thereby maximizing learning. For the objectives, this study aims to identify the coping strategies amongst third-year nursing students at the University of St. LaSalle with online learning. Specifically, it shall answer to the following queries. What is the profile of the participants according to sex, section, internet connectivity, and gadget use? What are the coping strategies of the participants in terms of avoidant and approach coping? And is there a significant difference in coping strategies of nursing students when grouped according to sex, section, internet connectivity, and gadget use? For the significance of the study will be beneficial to the following benefactors. For the nursing faculty, since the teachers are the ones with the students most of the time, the results of this study will enable them to see and understand the different kinds of stressors their students go through and how they cope up and allow them to offer supportive services. For the parents, this may serve as a reference for the parents to fully understand their children in terms of stress and coping and how it affects their performance. For the nursing students, this would benefit nursing students to display positive coping strategies when dealing with stressors related to online learning. For the current researchers, this will serve as a cross-reference that will give us an overview. The information presented will allow us to act accordingly because through this, we will be able to see the effects, benefits, and advantages. For the future researchers, future studies need a concrete foundation in order to build a more accurate and reliable results and conclusions. Thus, this study plans to provide future researchers methods and data to further strengthen and prove their goals of this study. Next, for the theoretical or conceptual framework, this study is anchored on Lazarus and Folkman's transaction model of stress and coping. They explain coping as a phenomenon that involves both cognitive and behavioral responses that individuals use in an attempt to manage internal or external stressors perceived to exceed their personal resources. Our study is also based on Sister Calista Roy's adaptation model. This model will help address the interaction to others and the environment through spontaneity and adaptation. For the hypothesis statement, there is no significant difference in coping strategies of nursing students when grouped according to sex, section, internet connectivity, and gadget use.
Methodology. First, we have here the research design. Cognizant of the primary objective of the study is to establish, describe, and analyze the coping strategies of nursing students with online learning. The research design that is used in this study is the descriptive research design. This study will employ a quantitative approach, and according to Goertzen 2017, quantitative research is a mode of research which uses collected and analyzed data that will be represented numerically. It is used to construct precise, detailed, and accurate data measurements for statistical analysis. The quantitative research method used in this research design is the survey method. Study participant. Sample size will be taken out of the total population of 177 nursing students at the University of St. Lazare. There will be 123 third-year nursing students that will be participating in this study using a Slotin's formula. This study will also use stratified random sampling. Research instrument. A modified standardized type of questionnaire taken from Novosec website will be used. Brief Cope. It is a 28-item self-report questionnaire designed to measure effective and ineffective ways to cope with a stressful life event. Specifically, it can be identified into two, namely approach coping and avoidant coping. Lastly, we have here ethical considerations. This research paper will ensure approval from the Board of Ethics of University of St. Lazare. Ethical consideration will be observed all throughout the study, and informed consent will be distributed to the participants before questionnaires will be answered. Lastly, when the data is no longer necessary, researchers will properly dispose those data, whether it is in a device or a paper.
Results and discussions are divided into two segments, namely, the profile of nursing students and coping strategies used in online learning. For the profile of the nursing students, Table 1 shows the demographic profile of the nursing students engaged in online learning, with the majority of the participants being female, with a percentage of 75.6. There are no major differences with the number of participants in each section, with only being one more for sections B, C, and D to section A. For internet connectivity, more than half of the participants belong to category 2B who have limited connectivity, followed by category 3, then 2A, and with the least amount of participants in category 1. When grouped according to gadget use, most of the participants have been using laptop for classes, followed by mobile devices, and with the least users of desktop computer, iPad, and tablets for online classes. For the coping strategies of the coping strategies of the participants are divided into two. First, the avoidant coping strategies, and second is the approach coping strategies. The table shows that participants often use approach coping strategies rather than avoidant coping strategies. In terms of approach coping, participants prefer to use acceptance coping strategy, followed by positive reframing, then the active coping, planning, emotional support, religion, use of informational support, and with the list of using humor to cope. Meanwhile, under the avoidant coping, the participants mostly use self-destruction, followed by venting, self-blame, behavioral disengagement, denial, and with the list of the participants resorting to substance use. Overall, it can be implied that majority of the participants mostly use approach coping strategies rather than avoidant coping strategies, with the exception of self-destruction strategies. In Table 3, independent samples t-test was used to determine the significant difference in coping strategies of nursing students when grouped according to sex. There was no significant difference in coping strategies in terms of avoidant and approaching of nursing students when grouped according to sex. This means that sex does not affect the coping strategies of nursing students. Analysis of variance was used to determine the significant difference in coping strategies in terms of approaching of nursing student when grouped according to section, internet connectivity, and gadget use. There was no significant difference in coping strategies in terms of approaching of nursing student when grouped according to internet connectivity and gadget use. Internet connectivity and gadget use do not affect coping in terms of avoidance. There was significant difference in coping strategies in terms of approaching of nursing students when grouped according to section. Post-hoc tests revealed that students from section B have significantly lower coping than students from section C and D. Analysis of variance was used to determine the significant difference in coping strategies in terms of avoidance of nursing students when grouped according to section, internet connectivity, and gadget use. There was no significant difference in coping strategies in terms of avoidance of nursing students when grouped according to section, internet connectivity, and gadget use. Section, internet connectivity, and gadget use do not affect coping in terms of avoidance.
For their conclusion, since online learning is a new setting in the educational system, students face unexpected challenges dealing with it. Ideally, face-to-face interactions with students and instructors are encouraged as it provides social influence and opportunities that can help students to learn. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, students had to adapt to virtual learning. Though online learning is not able to completely attain the replication of a traditional classroom, it is a more efficient and convenient method of being able to participate while being secure, while sustaining the academics and being able to maintain the interaction between the student and teacher amidst the lack of a physical setting. In connection with coping strategies, majority of students use approach coping, namely acceptance, where it can imply that the students are associated with more functional responses to adversity, and that includes the way they adapt to practical adjustments corresponding to online learning, and most likely to have more stable way of responding to emotional stress. There is also a major number of students who approach stress in a avoidant way of coping, namely self-distractions, and it shows that they have a less effective way of managing stress. On the subject of the internet connectivity and gadget use, majority of the students have a stable internet connection, but it is an undeniable fact that the few students are challenged when in view of their internet connection. The findings and conclusion of the study have implied some recommendation that can be addressed to the involved stakeholders. In order to help the students, nurses to grow and be able to catch up with everyone, the implementation of coping strategies should be brought up and shared with the students. The first one is grant students enough time, consideration, and proper and clear instructions. Next is building a positive student-teacher relationship. The third one, supervised learning from parents. Allow for flexibility in the schedule, give breaks if possible. And lastly, use of coping strategies when dealing with stressors to help them feel better physically and psychologically and to impact their ability in performing their best in everything they do.
For the utilization, the study results were relayed to the University of St. Tasal administration. A copy was endorsed to the College of Nursing faculty upon completion of the study as basis for students and teaching evaluation. In addition, the data will also be available to serve as basis for future researchers who will be conducting a similar study. Primarily, we would like to thank God for giving us the wisdom, strength, support, knowledge, and guidance to make this study possible. Then, we would like to thank our nursing research teacher, Dr. Shaila Tahera, and our clinical instructor, Ms. Christine Pandas, whose valuable guidance has been the ones that helped us make this proposal a success. Their suggestions and instructions have served as a major contributor towards the completion of the research proposal. We would like also to thank the members of the panel for giving us their valuable time, suggestions, and encouragement, allowing us to get the necessary information we need to make the study possible. Last but not the least, We would like to thank our family and friends who have helped us with their valuable guidance, which has been helpful in various phases of the completion of the research. Thank you, and the floor is now open for your questions.